Here we're going to talk about the third part in our series on vendor transactions in Sage, previously known as Peachtree. And we are in the Bellwether Garden Supply Company, and we are still on the vendors and purchases navigation aid. And so here we wanted to take a look at paying bills and writing checks. So once you've sent out a purchase order for something, then you receive the goods, and at the same time that you receive the goods in a separate envelope, you're going to receive a bill. And so we learned how in the second part to enter that bill when we receive the items. Now, the terms of that bill is going to say perhaps 2/10 and /30, which means 2% discount if you pay within 10 days, or the whole thing with no discount is due within 30 days. There may be other different variety of terms that goes with that bill. And so let us say that we want to go ahead and pay the bill. And we'll see how to pay the bill within the discount period so that we can get the discount, and also how to pay the bill if the discount period is passed, or maybe some companies don't even have a discount that they allow. And so, but to make sure that we pay the bill before it becomes past due, because it's very important for every business to keep a good credit rating. We do not want to be known as a company that doesn't pay our bills, and then we will not be able to purchase things on account. All right, so here we go with pay bills, and you'll notice there are two main things: pay bill and write check. Okay, there's also a button up here called write check, and we'll take a look at those in a few minutes. But you could see that either way you can write checks either down from this button or up at that button. But pay bill is only right here. Okay, and so I'm going to click on pay bill. I'm going to choose a vendor, and once again we'll choose Abney & Sons. And as soon as I choose it, you'll notice that there are two tabs, one that says apply to invoices, and if there are any outstanding invoices for that company, Abney & Sons, that we still owe on, this tab is going to come up first, and it's going to show us all the invoices that we still owe on. If there are no invoices that we owe on with Abney & Sons, then this apply to expenses would show up. Alright, so in this way we can go ahead and pay whichever one of these bills we want. Now there was one that was due March 31st of 2012, and we owe $75 on that. Obviously it is out of the discount period. We have one that was due on April 14th, which is not yet because our date right here is March 15th. So this is not due yet, and it is still in the discount period, and if we go ahead and pay it today, we would get a discount of $1.20. And then we have this other one, which is $515.35, and it's not due until April 19th. And it has a discount of $10.31 if we pay it today. You can also highlight these discounts and change them. And so if it is, if there's something different about the discount, that it should be some different amount, maybe it's supposed to be $1.50, I can go ahead and change that. Okay, and it'll automatically calculate out how much then does this check need to be for. And you'll notice you'll notice that the check mark is put in the pay column. Okay, I can uncheck that, and this discount goes back to the $1.20 that they had already calculated. So if I want to pay, say, the first two of these, I could click on pay here, and you can see we're going to pay $75, and I could pay on the second one, and it subtracts out the $1.20 discount from the $59.75 and shows that I'm going to actually pay $58.55 on that. Okay? If I only wanted to pay, say, the bottom two, or I decided, oops, I'm not going to pay this $75 yet, that's kind of in question, and we've been working back and forth with this vendor about that one. I'm not sure that I'm going to owe that whole $75. I can just unclick that, okay, and then I can click this one down here, and it subtracts out the $10.31 from the $515, and that's $505. Now it adds the two that I'm going to pay together, and that's $563, and so that shows up in the check that it's going to print out. And your company could, of course, have buy some checks from Sage and put them in the laser printer, and then this check would print out, and it would look basically like this. Now, we need a check number up here. If you are printing out checks if you're printing out checks with the printer, and you have those checks from Sage, then the software is going to want to put the check number in itself when you go to print these checks. And you don't have to print each check individually right now. We can wait till we have a whole batch of checks and then print out the check, all the checks. Okay? Now, since we are not actually printing checks here in class, you're gonna have to have a check number, and in your projects you'll be given a check number. Okay, the date here is March 15th, but if I change that date to say March 20th, okay, then it's automatically going to say, oh well, some things are different here. Okay, and so I would have to recheck those, that yes, I still want to pay those because I've now changed the date, which may or may not change the discount if I'm out of the discount period. You're also going to want to make sure that over to the right where it says cash account, this is the checking account that we're paying this check out of. Okay, if it's something that's not coming out of the regular checking account, then you need to change this account number and say which account is this money coming out of that we're going to pay these bills. I can go up to the journal button and double check. Now here I'm debiting accounts payable on each of those two invoices, and of course it will be debiting ADME and some contractors in the subsidiary ledgers as well for these two amounts. Okay, and those are the actual original amounts that we owed from the invoices. Then I am crediting this account here, $89,500. If you click on that, you'll see that's purchase discounts. That's that $10.31 and the $1.20 discount that we're getting. And of course, purchase discounts is a contra expense account. Okay, and then I've got the check amount itself is being credited to the regular checking account, and that's for the amount of the actual check. So this is all good, and we can say OK. Also note at the very bottom left is $89,500, which is asking what account do you want to use. If there's any discounts, what account do you want to use? And we had previously set this up as a default that we want to use $89,500, which is the purchase discount account for Bellwether Garden Supply. Okay, we can go ahead here and say save. All right, now let's take a look at writing a check. And again, you can click on Pay Bills and Write Check, or you can click on Write Checks and New Check. This is what we're going to use if we have a check that we're writing to someone particularly that's not a vendor. But even if we write it to a vendor, then it's going to be for something that A, was not inventory, and B, in which we did not previously have an invoice. And so in that case, you want to make sure that you're very careful. You do not want, if we have a previous invoice that we had entered into Enter Bill, you want to make sure that you press Pay Bill to pay that. If you have no invoice that you previously entered for this particular thing, then you can go ahead and use this Write Checks. And once again, it also cannot include inventory, because if you've got a bunch of inventory set up in your items, this has no way to say which items are we paying for that's going to be added into our inventory account. So you would end up having problems. So if we're, say, paying the landlord, and the landlord might not be added as a vendor because we never have a bill from him, you can skip the whole vendor ID and go down to where it says Pay to the Order of, and it says Name in gray, and we're going to click there, and we're going to put in Mr. Landlord. We need the check number again, and so we'll put that in. We'll put the date in, and we're down here at the amount, and you would type in the amount. You can put in the memo. And we can then decide which account. This would typically might be in rent expense, okay, or it might be put into prepaid rent. Okay, so here we're good. We can check on the journal. We're going to be debiting rent expense and crediting the regular checking account. So that's good. And we can go ahead and say save and close. So this concludes our YouTube videos. You will also, of course, want to know how to do a credit memo in the vendor transactions. You'll want to know how to do void checks, and you'll want to know how to do how to get the various reports that you need, as well as these simple things that we looked at today.